Scott Kerman, and I'm joined by my usual cohorts, the Professor Russ Stevens, Uncle Joe McLaughlin, and he's JP's first son, Tim Hoey. Well, we have another great show for you tonight. So, boys, let's get it started. All right, well, I watched the game. I streamed the game. Timmy sometimes streams the Patriots games. So I was streaming it. The last play of the game, I see the text. One of you, either Russ, I think it was Russ, goes, that's, or maybe even Timmy says, that's the worst play I've ever seen in the history of football. And I didn't even know what he could possibly be talking about.
I think it was me. Yeah, and it was the worst play in the history of football. Like your imagination couldn't even have gotten you where that play ended up, right?
You could never, ever conceive of it.
Yeah. So I was trying to explain to Adrian, boys, and Adrian doesn't know a lot about sports, what happened. And I simply said, at one point, the Patriots guy who had the ball threw it 20 yards backwards to another player on the other team who ran it for a touchdown. And she said, "Oh, dear Lord."
Yeah.
That's pretty much it, what happened.
Yeah, it was the biggest breakdown and embarrassment in the history. I mean, it's right up there in the top. It's going to be in the top 5 forever, right?
And all of a sudden, no, he didn't get hit on that play, but he's in the concussion protocol now.
Excuse me.
They must have just taken a look at his actions and said he must have been whacked.
I'm still seeing Adam on the screen here.
Adam's not here today.
Whoever is doing this.
Lex, we can see you, Lex.
Lex.
That's all right.
It's all right.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, we can see you, Lex. I don't know. I think you may have to take it off.
You can just turn your camera off. Yeah.
Yeah. If you turn your camera off, there you go. And we want to thank Lex for.
Okay. Getting back to the most ridiculous, it was comical. It was almost to the point I couldn't be mad. I was just simply massively amused.
Oh, and the attempted tackle by Mac Jones. Chandler Jones just stiff-armed him like he was a 2-year-old toddler and kicked him aside as he didn't even break stride.
Chandler Jones was like ready for a nap. He was like 40 yards behind the play.
Yeah.
Waiting.
But this is build up.
We know manna from heaven.
We know nothing is by accident. Everything builds up to a point. This just doesn't. A play like this, in my belief, does not just happen. It's an accumulation of a couple of years of poor coaching, of stupid playing, and of players thinking they could go rogue. And that's what happened with Stevenson and Jacoby Myers. They went rogue, and this is how it manifested itself.
Yeah, look, for how many years have we been talking about how Belichick's teams limited mistakes, waited for other teams to make them. We're situationally aware at all times. Remember, like they snapped the ball through the goalpost at Denver that game, and they ended up winning that game because they snapped it through, took the safety, punted, got the ball back, and scored. Like that was what they did the best, and now they do it the worst.
The worst. And
the worst.
We used to sit back and wait for the other team to make a mistake.
Yeah.
Las Vegas, you would have thought Las Vegas was the worst, the way they blew that game. But then the Patriots one-upped them.
So, we know what keeps crossing my mind. How much of what was, that disciplined football, how much of that was Brady and how much of that was Belichick?
A lot of it was
my
Brady.
Question. Yeah, Timmy, that's what's going to be my question. How much did Tom Brady cover up the mistakes? Or basically there were mistakes made, but we forgot because at the end of the day, the Patriots won the game.
If they were false starting, Brady was screaming at them on the sideline.
Yeah, but the defense didn't make a lot of mistakes, and now we're making defensive mistakes. The special teams didn't used to make a lot of mistakes. Now the special teams makes mistakes.
What I'm saying is he had an aura that carried through the whole team. Like this is how we conduct ourselves.
But I don't think it's
have to be on the same page. I don't know. It just seems to have gone away since he's gone away.
It's a big help to the coaching staff to have a guy like that as your leader.
But you guys are perfectionist. I think Brady was one of several in every era of this team. It was Brady and it was several other guys. And now the problem was there's no Brady. And we were talking about this the other day. Who are the guys? Slater, McCourty, and Andrews. That's it.
And Slater and McCourty are way beyond their prime. They're
Way
only
beyond
there
their
for,
prime.
there is like
a ton of free
player
agents,
coaches.
a ton of free agents that came in with their own agenda.
Yep. The culture of the team is not the culture. The culture of this team is not the Patriot way. This is not the Patriot way, or what we knew of it, is over. And I do agree, Timmy, has certainly a lot to do with Brady, but he wasn't the only one.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Are we going to
We had
finally?
the McGinnises of the world. We had,
Yeah,
right down
Of
the
course,
line.
Bruce
Before he
down the
started
line.
swinging bottles around.
I love Vrabel. I mean, we had studs, Richard Seymour, Lawyer Malloy. But, the whole shtick of Bill post game, we have to coach better and stuff. Yeah, finally, right. He just says this stuff to shut us up. The mistakes are on the coaching. When does he pay for it with being shown the door? I mean, at some point, seriously?
It's not a chance, because the two biggest errors of the last few years were Bob Kraft's. A, bringing Matt Patricia back, and B, forcing Bill to draft Mac Jones.
Why was bringing Matt Patricia back Bob Kraft's? Isn't
where's
that?
Bob Kraft?
He's the one who brought him back.
No way. Come on. What are you talking
He's a
about?
favorite of the Kraft family, and Bob was the one who brought him back as the special assistant.
Yeah,
It was only this year that he moved to actively coaching. Remember, last year he was just in the background, but this year they had to move him to coaching. And the other one was
based on
forcing
Bob Kraft's, he decided that.
Well, he hires the management, right? And he was hired in a management position.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Seriously, I don't know what you're talking about. Matt,
Yeah, I've never heard that, but I mean,
Joe,
it could be true.
No, Bob
Joe's
Kraft is
idea.
the guy that brought Patricia back.
Okay, but he didn't put him on the field as the offensive coordinator.
No, he did not.
Well, that's what we're dealing
Yeah.
with. I don't care. Fine, he can go upstairs and push around paper. I could care less.
Yeah.
He is the offensive coordinator, and he's done arguably the worst job in the NFL.
Yeah, well, he doesn't got a lot to work with there either.
Well, I mean,
Josh McDaniels, who you think is a genius, didn't do very well with the same cast of characters either.
well, I mean, look. The team has obviously deteriorated offensive wise too. It's just something that we've never even been used to in the history of our watching Patriots games.
Oh, definitely.
Like 50 years of really bad teams at times.
Yeah.
Okay. So Bill survives this. Would you agree that any normal kind of coach gets fired probably?
If his last name was Burke instead of Belichick, he'd be gone.
Right.
We all agree with that, right? After the last 3 years, like if you say year 1, year 2, year 3, if this guy's last name if his name was Bill Burke, he'd be gone.
Right.
Yeah, but in most towns, if he could make the playoffs, you make the playoffs 2 out of 3 years, you're a hero in that town.
You're watching these games. Well, where are the
They're
playoffs?
terrible. They're awful.
Belichick's legacy.
Have you noticed my predictions the last 3 weeks? All the
I know.
All right,
Patriots losing.
I have the predictions from last week. It was Scott 33-28 Patriots, Tim 21-17, Joe 27-26, and Russ 24-23. We all had the Patriots winning.
I did mention unless Jacoby Myers throws the ball 20 yards behind him.
I would have needed the Swami hat for that.
And he was wouldn't you have said he's the guy least likely to make a stupid mistake?
No, I mean he's a good player, but like, can we let's get back to this? Is he back? I just think the most likely scenario is the Crafts go to him and say, you got to hire a real coaching staff. We'll give you the money you need. You got to hire a real offensive coordinator, right? You got to at least hire a defensive assistant who's a seasoned defensive, old school, decent. He doesn't have to be the coordinator, and you got to hire real coaches.
Does he want to hire Bill O'Brien? Because Russ,
I don't know.
I don't think so. Remember, I don't think they left on good terms. He got him the job at Penn State, remember? It was like he was kicking him out the door, but giving him a nice soft landing spot, sort of like the Red Sox did with Dio in San Diego.
But Timmy, if Bill O'Brien's this offensive coordinator, and the Patriots start 2-5 or go 2-5, I mean, the rumors are going to be heavy that Bill O'Brien's replacing Bill Belichick next year. So, I mean, you bring in a big name like that, and that's just a natural.
No, my view, I think Belichick's a huge piece of the value of this organization. I mean, has his legacy been tarnished that much by the last 3 years? I mean, has it? He was at the top, at the very pinnacle of coaches, right? I mean, like it was like a given that he was the greatest coach of all time. It was very few that were arguing that point. Does he fall from that pedestal that quickly?
That's a great question. Joe answered. Yeah, answered. What do you?
Oh, maybe, but to go back to what you were saying about Bill O'Brien, I think in 2 years' time, if the decision is made to move on from Bill, I think maybe Mike Vrabel might be the choice.
Well, they would love
at
Vrabel.
the time, because
Right.
look at all the craziness going on there in Tennessee, and it looks like they're going to end up out of the playoffs too.
Wow, Russ, Vrabel will be a good choice. I
think he'd be great. I think he's under contract though for a while, so you'd have to trade for him, right?
Don't sleep on Mayo. Don't sleep on Gerard Mayo not being.
Maybe. I guess my point is though, I don't think he's going to fire Belichick. I think he's going to demand changes, and I think and then Belichick's going to have to decide whether he wants to abide by the changes. I think the most likely scenario. I think the most likely scenario is he's back next year, because he probably realizes that he's got to change out at least Patricia. But the second most likely scenario is that he walks, because the Crafts say you got to change you got to hire some people, and he says I'm going to do what I want. I'm not going to be told who to hire. See you later.
At 70 years old, does he have great value as a head coach anymore?
Are you freaking kidding me? Of course he does.
Sell out any place.
Of course.
in the NFL.
Remember
when Parcells came here? The line was from Foxborough to Rentham.
Yeah.
How
old was Parcells? He wasn't 70 years old.
It doesn't matter. Honestly, imagine if Dan Snyder sells the Commanders in the offseason, and the new owner says the first thing I'm going to do is bring in Bill Belichick to get this thing up and running, like in the right way, in a heartbeat. All
right, so then he has value. Then we need to trade him. I'm serious. You cannot let Bill Belichick walk out this door without getting something for him, right?
You think he hasn't put into it what he has in past years?
Yeah.
No, he probably is working just as hard, Timmy. But I just think like he only wants to work with his people.
So
he only wants to,
and all his people, Tim, have gone.
Yeah, so
90% of the front office, 90% of the coaches from 3 years ago are gone.
So his supporting cast, he's surrounded by a poor supporting cast. Is that the consensus?
Yeah, as you get older, naturally, you guys in management, you delegate more authority.
You also might gain wisdom and a little smarts with that age too. And I mean, as you're watching yourself sink, do you still stick to that? I only want to work with my buddies.
Yeah.
Or do you just say I don't give a crap?
No, I think it's not work with his buddies. It's work with people he has trained to work the way he wants. And like I said, 90% of the front office from the 3 years ago is gone. 90% of his coaching staff from 3 years ago.
Yeah, but all the other franchises go through this too, don't they?
So he's got to train all new scouts, all new front office people, all new coaches.
You're not holding him accountable.
That's the people he wants.
You have to hold him accountable.
We don't have time for that.
You're not holding him accountable. This has been a very poorly coached team. Everybody across the league is watching.
Exactly.
We
don't have time for him to train up a whole new batch.
Why are we at 70 years old thinking that he has anything left in the tank as far as coaching does?
I don't.
Poor job.
Like I don't think you, Joe. I don't think you need to train up a whole new batch. I think you could. He
needs to.
If the Crafts go, if he's open to Bill O'Brien, and basically, if you bring in Bill O'Brien, you're probably promising O'Brien the first crack at the post Belichick job. So you're going to O'Brien and you say, would you be the offensive coordinator here for the next 2-3 years? The job, you're first in line for the job. Not a guarantee, you're first in line for that job when he retires. Like that alone, at least you're going to get an NFL caliber offense next year.
Yeah. And then you probably make Mayo the defensive coordinator from what I've heard.
I don't know. I don't recall the Houston Texans having a very good offense under Billy O'Brien.
Houston, well, they've certainly had decent offenses under Billy O'Brien when they had the receivers. Yeah, I mean, they had two really good
before
receivers.
Billy came, they had a pretty good one. Remember, they were with their lettuce sweaters and everything before Billy.
Wasn't it a shit show down in Houston over there for a while?
Oh,
Yeah, no,
and they couldn't get
really bad trades.
I can see why he dumped DeAndre Hopkins for a bag of balls like that. Remember, we were all shocked and couldn't figure it out that he was
a very bad GM. But you bring him in as an offensive coordinator. He definitely knows what he's doing. He obviously was successful in Alabama too. That's the first move. But you guys, I just don't think, if Belichick was a player, would we say he has a couple of years left?
Nope.
No.
Okay.
Well, we look at players through their physical prowess, not their mental acuity.
But look at his resume this year. This has been a terribly coached team, and he's letting the quarterback run amok and show up the coaching staff and players at times. He showed up. One of the receivers, I forget which one, after a third down, Mac was
obviously his teammates don't like playing.
It was Thornton. It was Thornton. He showed up.
Yeah. Okay, and we know what kind of act, and he's not Tom Brady, and he's not Kurt Schilling, and guys like that who used to show players that, and John Lackey. This guy is a second-year quarterback who's lucky right now to still be starting. I mean, why isn't Bill in control of that?
Good question.
That's Joe Judge.
I would love to see what conversations he's having. Is he having conversations and Mac Jones is saying, I have all the leverage here? Mm-hmm. I can't imagine. We've seen Bill show the door to superstars. I mean, Ty Law, Lawyer Malloy,
Seymour. Vrabel.
I mean,
but Timmy, he
showed but they got something. He got something for them.
10 times the player that he is.
Timmy, the first thing you said in our thread to start the game was, "Is Mac whining again?" That's the first thing you said.
I wasn't even watching the game.
Yeah, no.
And you knew what was happening.
You knew what was happening, and that is on the coach.
Yeah, did you see what Julian Edelman said?
What?
Him
making his pissy faces. He wouldn't last a minute with us.
No. I've grown weary of Mac Jones already. I've grown weary of his act.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
So have his teammates and so have his coaches, but they don't have a choice.
Yeah. As a teammate or a friend or anything, he's not my cup of tea. I'll tell you right now.
Russ, they asked Bill Belichick today if Mac Jones would be the starting quarterback for the last 3 games, and he said, "We're just focusing on Cincinnati."
Yeah, it occurred to me that if you really wanted to know where, evidently Jones is Krafts are a big fan of Jones and everything. And if you want to kind of know where Belichick stands in this organization right now, if Belichick makes the switch from Jones to Zappi at any point over the next 3 weeks, I think that's going to tell you all you need to know about the state of the relationship, because that's him putting
the Bernie Kosar move in Cleveland that got him shipped out the door there. Even though he's the last coach to have a playoff winner.
Because they said when the Jets coach a few weeks ago replaced Wilson with White, that was pretty much the end of Wilson. Wilson's had to come back because of injury. You know, it has to be the same equation.
I think if you replace Jones with Zappi, when you're fighting for a playoff. So now, by the way, if they get eliminated this week and he replaces them and they come up with some phantom injury or whatever, but I think if you replace Jones now, you're basically saying he's not our quarterback of the future, and you're going to move him.
Well,
right?
we had said,
hello, Lamar Jackson.
We had said a while back, when Mac got healthy again, play out the year with Mac so you can see exactly what you have here, whether you know if he's worth keeping or worth moving on from.
I know what we have now.
We
have a whiny quarterback.
I could deal with bad performance. It's the behavior
that's a great question.
Terrible.
What are the Patriots?
The behavior affects his teammates, and that's why they are not playing well with him.
Are the Patriots more important? Are they judging Mac more by his behavior right now or his playing on the field?
I want to throw one thing in. I play with a couple of hockey players that just wouldn't pass the puck in with jerks. And in games, in real league games, we would go off sides on those guys when they were trying to do one of their end-to-end rushes, just to take the air out of their tires. I don't know if guys are dropping balls or whatever, not making their blocks because they don't like this dude. I don't know. Continue on, Scotty. I didn't mean to jump in.
Oh, you really think that? Yeah, I think it's more behavioral right now than the play on the field. He obviously played very poorly in the Raiders game.
But I'm talking about his teammates not playing as hard as they could because they're like, F this guy.
Well, we know offensive linemen have been known to go.
Left tackle has made his thoughts clear this week that he doesn't like Mac.
Yeah, what did he like a tweet that said gonna bring back Jimmy G or Tom Brady? Was that what I'm?
No, he said in a podcast that they should bring back Jimmy G or something like him.
Wow. Yeah, well, I think Trent
Said this guy's not the answer. In the podcast, he said this maybe Bailey Zappi, maybe Jimmy G, but not this guy.
He said that. I don't know if he said that.
In the podcast, yes.
Wow. I think Trent Brown. I'm
sure Trent Brown got a little talking to about that. I don't.
Russ, is Trent Brown going to be with the Patriots next year? Not a chance. Right?
I don't know. I don't think so. Predicting who's going to be with the Patriots next year and who isn't is just it seems very, very early at this point. Yeah, I think we got to figure out are we sure who's going to be the head coach of the Patriots next year? But just Scotty, to your point, is it behavior or the play on the field? Both are horrible.
Yeah.
This isn't a guy who's playing well. He's behaving like a pissy, tennis player, which he is. Mm-hmm. He's a guy who's playing horribly. Those stats the other day, he blew that pass that he threw over Jonnu Smith's head on that 2nd and 1 was a joke. That he threw that ball 7 feet over his head. I don't even know who on earth he could blame other than himself for that. And he still managed to blame someone else for that.
Yeah, and the quarterback sneak when he didn't even have everybody set.
Oh, terrible.
All on him.
Terrible. I mean, bad on field and bad behavior.
They scored 2 touchdowns there and ended up with 3 points. That was a real disaster.
Okay, with the idea that the season is pretty much over, what's if we trade Mac Jones? What's his value?
Another crappy quarterback like Zach Wilson. I'd trade Mac Jones for Zach Wilson in a freaking heartbeat.
I would too.
But the Jets wouldn't do it. I'd do it in a heartbeat, but the Jets wouldn't do it.
Yeah, but
Mac by himself is maybe a conditional 6th to 5th tops.
Yeah.
It's a 4th rounder. I mean, he's
a backup.
The one thing you have is you have at least a year of control. So theoretically, a team would be willing to pay something for a year to see if you could rehabilitate him.
You'd have 3 more years of control because he's a 5-year guy.
A floundering guy who, at one time appeared to have a ton of potential, but is just floundering. Kind of like Mac. One for I don't know if the Jets and the Pats would ever make a trade, but
no, it's interesting. 2 reclamation projects. That's often they do that.
It would be a smart thing for both teams to do. Because it would give maybe a fresh start to each in a different place and see if things could work out. With the way things are trending now for both guys, very, very poor.
What if anyone's in Mac Jones's ear? If anybody has his ear saying, knock it off.
Oh, what positives have come out of the last 14 games? These 14 games, you see any?
Some good young players.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like the draft was just definitely guys who can contribute presently and in the future, especially guys like Marcus Jones and
everyone else named Jones. I'll say look good.
Yeah, I mean, Marcus Jones could be a kind of a star if he stays healthy, right, Russ?
Yeah. I mean, he's that's right.
Decent quarterback and a decent offensive line. We might be doing okay.
And they got a lot of money. I think I checked. They have the 3rd highest room in the salary cap to spend next year. They'll definitely get rid of some big names. The Jonnu Smiths and Hunter Henrys, I got to assume, are gone after this year. So they can spend the money. But do you trust Bill Belichick to spend the money?
Nope. Not without a real GM.
See, I mean, this is a huge situation for the Crafts. The Crafts can't be happy with this situation the last 3 years. After
Well, I'll say one thing for Nick Casario. He was a good evaluator of pro talent. The free agents he brought in were good. He was a terrible drafter, terrible evaluator of college talent, but he was good pro player evaluator. He brought in a lot of guys that were like scrap heaps that worked out here.
Now we do have to remember, Belichick did some unprecedented things here over a 20-year span. How many times did that team have to morph? And nobody could do that. Maybe somebody went 3 or 4 years, and then you lose all your stars, and then you have to gather more stars, and then you lose your stars. You have to gather more stars. Belichick has shown an incredible ability. Now, I don't know what Tom Brady, he was probably a gigantic part of that. But those were like 5 to 7 really separate teams that had success. So Belichick has shown that he can put teams together.
But it doesn't last forever. He's 70 years old. I mean, that's the reason we have retirement. People retire.
I'm 62. I don't feel like I don't know. I'm still doing what I always do.
All right, well, let's talk in 8 years.
Still number one in sales.
Age discrimination here, Scotty. Is that what we're talking?
With Timmy, you're a rare breed, Timmy. You'll be going at 95.
Joe's got me even more. Joe's just hitting his peak.
Yeah,
I'm 70 next year.
Yeah, right. I mean, the fact is that he's not producing on the field. The team has been very poor this year. They brought in a lot of talent last year, spent a lot of money. The Crafts can't be happy with this product, and they're gonna want more.
Yeah. And beyond being a poor team, they're a boring and not fun to watch team too.
That's right, Joe.
There's no spark there.
Well, I put most of this blame this year. I put on Matt Patricia and Mac Jones. Me. That's where I put most of it.
I'm with you, Tim.
I mean, Bill Belichick brought Matt Patricia in and he gave him this spot.
Bob Kraft brought Matt Patricia in.
Even if Bob Kraft brought Matt Patricia in, him making Matt Patricia, the problem is him making Matt Patricia the offensive coordinator and Joe Judge the quarterback is a joke. It's a complete joke. It did a disservice to Mac Jones and the entire offense and the entire organization. And everyone called it for what it was before this season started.
Yeah,
it has played out exactly along the lines of what is the worst case scenario. That's how it played out.
Is there a chance that it is just so horrendous, the job that Matt Patricia and Judge are doing, that Mac Jones is justified a little bit in his behavior?
A great question. Yes, to some extent, but he still has to be
on field. Those tantrums, Timmy. It'd be one thing if Tom Brady, after 15 years and 3 Super Bowls, was throwing hissy fits. This guy's done nothing. He hasn't won a playoff game. He hasn't.
Tom never did that until after he had like 3 Super Bowl titles.
Oh my God! I mean, this kid's behaving like he's. Yeah, this kid's behaving like he's done something in the NFL. He's done nothing. Nothing.
Yeah, that drives me crazy.
Yep.
I'm looking for a reason, like a reason why.
He had a lot of fanboys that were propping him up, telling him how great he was all off season when he wasn't all that great.
Well, I don't care how that works out. He doesn't look like he's the future of the Patriots, and I was a big Mac Daddy fan.
Oh yes, you were.
I know you were. You were flying the Mac Daddy flag until a few weeks ago.
Franchise quarterback.
For not being a believer.
Yeah, for you to basically go south on Mac, man, he lost one of his biggest opponents.
Well, I think he's lost a lot.
I always talk about it, and this is why I love Jimmy G. He can make all the throws. Of course, Tom Brady's the greatest of all time. But I felt like Mac Jones can make all the throws. He's not making any throws right now. He's not even an accurate quarterback.
Jimmy G's available next year. Lamar Jackson's available next year. Do you go for one of them?
No, will you stop saying Lamar Jackson? You think the Ravens are letting Lamar Jackson go?
He's told them no. He already told them no.
Yo, they franchise tag him. What are you talking about? They'll franchise tag him for a couple of years. They're not letting the franchise quarterback go to the New England Patriots. Not a chance. All right, we'll stop that. All right, we have to go. We're going to finish the train wrecks first, and then we're going to go to the.
Now,
good
let's get
stuff about that.
let's get the two train wrecks out of the
Okay,
way.
so like we're going to drink the tomato juice first, and then I.
Then we're gonna-
I
now-
like tomato juice. I get tomato juice.
And
Now
the
the
kale,
graphic
and then we're
novel.
gonna have the
Now the
cheesecake, and then we're gonna have all the good
Yeah,
stuff.
we'll have the Moxie now after the.
Oh,
Yeah.
I hate that
Yeah.
stuff.
Okay, the Boston Red Sox. Maybe you've heard of them. You know, each day gets worse and worse for the Boston Red Sox. Steve Cohen has now had for the New York Mets. The owner will have spent $150 million more than any this year than any franchise has ever spent in the history of baseball.
Here's even a better stat. So he's going to pay $111 million in luxury tax, which is more than the payroll of 6 other franchises.
Yeah.
Oh my
I
God!
want him here.
Of course we do, but
Oh, you know they love him in New York now.
but the Boston Red Sox, who are now down to 18th in payroll, this is a business plan. This is not by accident.
Yep.
So I know that before you guys, I'm gonna let you speak. Before we say that they're trying to get the payroll down because they want to sell. Well, having a shitty team definitely diminishes the value greater than having some contracts on the books. So I dismiss that theory completely.
I don't think so.
Well, come on. Getting rid of
A prospective owner might like to build things the way he wants to.
Joe, are you seeing the Phoenix Suns were supposed to go for $2 billion? They went for $4 billion. Do you think these guys are looking down at the item lines?
Which is why Fenway Sports Group, which is the one that's supposed to get the Las Vegas expansion team. I don't know who's getting Seattle, but they're going to have to come up with $4.5 billion now because that's set the bar.
Okay, so what is the plan for the Boston Red Sox?
You know, Scotty, I
Ask Heim.
I think John Henry says I gave them 4 World Series championships. I have done my part. They are now a line item in my conglomerate now.
All right, that's a great point, Russ.
I agree more with Timmy than anything. I just think they're just a piece of their overall puzzle, and they're going to manage it like a business. They're not going to manage it like with desperation, or we've got to, the Mets are being owned as as a franchise who hasn't won anything since 1986, right? So that's why their owner is spending, out of his ears. And I think the Red Sox, to Joe's point, they've got 4. We've got a bunch of franchises. We're going to manage it like a rational group of business owners.
But is losing Rafael Devers, which will really be to some level, we'll pay for that as a fan for 15 years.
They think we're stupid. They think we're stupid. They think that, we'll lose Devers, and if we win 92 games and make the wild card the next year, people will be fine. People will be back. We have the tourists. Those will come to the park.
Historic Fenway.
Yeah.
Because that really just that speaks to that were the Oakland A's if you lose Devers, correct?
It would look
Yeah,
like
with
a
a nice
utility
park.
player at every position without Devers.
Yeah.
Walk up to the A's game and get in for $8.
But then what is the point of even having a franchise if you don't take care of your good young?
That's what I've been saying all along. Is I don't even know the point. Isn't the point about baseball is that you develop these players, you follow them over the years, Scott. You do it more, devotedly than anyone I know. You follow these guys through Portland and Pawtucket and now Worcester and all the way up. Isn't the whole idea you get those guys at major league levels, they become stars, and you get to watch them play for 10 years?
Oh my God! Well, that's why.
Isn't that the point?
That's why losing Xander's.
No salary cap. Once again, there is no salary cap in baseball. I understand why guys like Grant Williams could leave, right? Because he could get an offer, and there's only so much that there's no salary cap in baseball. They could sign any one of these guys.
But
And there's no salary cap in basketball also.
I wish there
That's
was something.
soft
No,
cap.
there's a big Joe. There's a salary cap in basketball. What are you talking about?
Is there some
You just pay.
bazillion
You can pay be like the Golden State Warriors.
No, but Right, but you're going to pay $1 zillion, and
Oh,
then you get hard
oh.
capped. You actually can get hard capped in the NBA. Period. Like,
Yes.
literally.
And if the Golden State had done it one more year, they would have been high
I
cap.
can't
Right.
say, is there some billionaire out there, because they're a dime a dozen. Is there some like bazillionaire out there who's looking for a little toy like the Boston Red Sox to own?
Well, needless to say, if the Red Sox were for sale,
They would go for $4 or $5 billion.
yeah,
Easy.
and it would be a guy who obviously was very wealthy and not be.
Absolutely.
I'm sure at what John Henry's parties, the same guy has gone up to him more than once and said, if you ever want to get rid of the Red Sox, come see me first.
Who's that?
I
No,
have no
really
idea,
not.
but there's someone out there that
Yeah,
would
of
like a
course
shot
there
at
is.
it.
But look, the idea that the premise that Henry and Warner have not spoken to the press about the Red Sox in a couple, 3 years?
It's a joke.
Is that everything that we need to know? They don't want to take
Everything you need to
accountability.
know. Totally.
They did that annually. Remember, these are the guys that would come to spring training and they'd walk through the crowd and sign autographs for a couple hours.
They would
when
bask
when
in
they
the
when they
glory.
were champions and defending.
Signing
Yeah.
autographs. Tom Warner signing an autograph. I mean, seriously? I mean, what are you going to do with
Let's go Red Sox.
that? I mean, and now they won't even. But I mean, that's negligence. That's being malicious and ignoring your fan base and your customer base. That's just sitting on your perch. Why?
What would it take to get their attention?
But why is it too? Why do we?
Oh, I mean, it's a great question, Timmy. So I think, tickets are going to be interesting this year. Especially if it looks like if Dever says I'm leaving or I'm going into free agency, I think ratings.
Oh, he's definitely going into free agency. There's no way he would.
You'd be an idiot not to.
Ratings going down more, attendance going down. They have a crappy team again. Look, I think their place in the market, in the Boston market, probably means as much to them as anything. And they're fourth now, right?
That's a great question.
Fourth among interest in the general sports fan, for sure.
Yeah.
There's probably still more Red Sox fans out there than they're second to the Patriots right now.
Look, remember that. Don't lose sight that Fenway Park is a cash cow. It's constantly running shit through.
Bought, paid for.
So
Now they got those conventions out in center field too.
They're not
It's
carrying
not for
any
them.
debt. They're not
So-
carrying
I'm
any
so-
debt on it.
Honestly, I'm so glad for them. Doesn't it make you happy that they get high occupancy in Fenway? It's so great. It's so great for the fans.
And never mind
Jesus,
that all
who
those
cares?
high-rises that went up all around the park, that was all them too.
Who cares? That's just.
I don't know. I don't think we have any power anymore, boys. I really don't think we have any power.
How
They may
long
be right.
does anyone remember when George Steinbrenner left the Yankees? It's been 20, 30 years now, hasn't it? And they've had it tough. Now Steve Cohen rides into New York as the hero.
Well, look, Hal Steinbrenner stepped up and he paid for Judge. I mean,
Yeah, he did, but he didn't like it. He's not the guy his dad was,
It's so funny. That's it. Now that Correa took the other deal with the Mets, actually, the years
Big haircut too.
Xander has a better deal than Correa does. I mean,
$35 million less. Wasn't he 350, and he's getting 315 with the Mets.
Correa is a better player than Xander.
Yeah.
Right? I don't even think it's close. Am I imagining?
Well, he's younger too. On top of everything, he's better and he's younger.
But what happened with the physical? What's there?
I don't know.
The Giants backed off pretty quick.
But the Red Sox are
He
gonna
was in uniform. He was in a Giants uniform, get ready to be introduced at the press conference when they said, "Hold on there," and Boris pulled him back.
Okay, so does when Hein Bloom says that we have limitations in signing Devers, I that's probably the most pathetic thing.
Oh,
that
that
I've
means
ever
they're
heard
not.
a GM say in this town. Would you agree?
Yeah, because some nut out there is gonna write the check.
Why is it a nut? I mean, you're getting
Yeah.
No, it's kind of what I'm saying. Is
best players in baseball. Isn't that what we're
usually
trying to do here?
a nut wrote the check for Xander.
No, I just said that was a big contract, but I think it's going to work well for the Padres. I think they'll probably end up winning a World Series in the next 3 to 5 years, and that's pretty good. They've never won one.
They've had a good team the last few years and just haven't been able to get over the hump.
I mean,
Rafi just turned 26 years old. So if you sign him for 10 years, you're getting him through his age 35 season when he still should be
Should be fine.
The end of the very, very end of his prime, right? It's not like he's going to be an old man.
No.
You signed Xander to a 10-year contract, and the last 3 years are just going to be a waste. Whatever.
What about the guy they just signed from the Dodgers? He's 38. They didn't, that didn't stop from that kind of age. Didn't scare him then.
This is a whole different thing than Bogarts. This is my point all along.
Yeah.
There is no reason. Their negotiation with Rafi should be, Rafi, what's it going to take for you to stick around for 10 years? And Rafi answers, and they say, great, fantastic. We'll have the lawyers write the contract.
Give him an answer.
Why is this so friggin' hard?
Because he won't give him an answer.
No, that's not true, Joe. That's not true, Joe. Nobody would turn down.
He's got a number. His agent has a number.
Joe, come on. I mean, there's still a concern that he would get seriously hurt. He could be in a car accident and walk away.
Well, that's the Red Sox. They got to carry insurance for that kind of thing.
No, but
he's talking from Raphael's standpoint.
For the next year, there's a reason why he would sign this kind of deal.
Oh yeah,
but sign a certain amount of deal because there is a risk on waiting.
Most guys don't. If you notice, like Correa didn't. He signed a 1-year deal to get to this.
Again, but Rafi is 26 years. He just turned 26. It's different than with Correa, right? Yeah. Rafi could also go in and say, "I want a 4-year contract for $40 million a year or $45 million a year, right? And I want to be able to I want to go into free agency in my age 29 or 30 year. He could do that too. Yeah. And if I'm the Red Sox, whatever you need.
What Rafi. Somebody else will do. That's really, it's not, if you're negotiating by yourself, it's one thing. It's if you have competition, what's the other person willing to do?
Tim, if Devers goes to free agency, he'll be playing third base for the New York Mets. I don't know what else anyone needs to know. That's what he's.
I think it'll be 10 years at $35 million a year.
And fine, like Russ said, just pay it and that.
Pay it. Go move on.
This is tax write-off. Go.
But I'm actually shocked because Russ had mentioned this actually during the season. He said if Devers doesn't sign, he's out as a season ticket holder.
I'm out. I'm dead ass serious. I'm not spending another dime on this team if they. And I'm not even like in this whole thing. While they traded him for prospects, I don't trust the management to get the right prospects.
Yeah, but I saw that with Mookie.
But a lot of people have shared recently what you've been saying for a long time, and it doesn't seem to be moving the dial at all. With the Red Sox.
I think they're arrogant, Scotty. I think they think that we'll be back no matter what. Or who else? What else am I going to do? Who am I going to root for? We'll still get 2 million plus people or 3 million plus people through Fenway. We'll still have the Zach Brown concerts and the big air, and we'll rent out the suite, and we'll buy we'll build all the high rises around it. I think they're arrogant. I think they think that we won't leave the franchise, and maybe not enough of us will. I will.
Well, Jacobs did this with the Bruins, and the Bruins were at an all-time low, and they finally broke it and got Chara.
Yeah. All right, let's go. We got to go away from them. I'm getting. All right, we go to the Boston Celtics.
Let's go to greener pastures, please.
Look, the Celtics. This is a long season, boys. They're gonna be. I mean, they're just times. They're just, and of course, December during Christmas, the holidays, you kind of feel like hanging out and eating. I don't really care that they lost 2 games to the Orlando Magic when they played this well. Are you concerned?
Yeah, I am, Scotty. We always say on this show, you are what your baseball cards. They were shooting a disproportionate percentage for 3 points, and they were, they're living and dying with that 3-pointer. The last game I went to, I think they shot 21% for 3 points. And not that they're going to shoot 21%, but they shoot. What were they shooting? During that massively hot streak, they were shooting
over 40,
an unsustainable percentage on 3 points. So this team is going to live and die with that. And if you're living with it, you better expect to die with it if they're not falling too.
During the course of the season, that's going to happen like anything. I think
Yeah.
the offense changes a little bit too with Rob Williams there. They won't be as dependent on the pointers.
Well, they're transitioning from, they were the number one offensive team up until December and the 29th defensive team. Now they seem to be transitioning even before Rob came back into, now in December, they're the number 4 defense in the league. I think they're having a little growing pains transitioning into the team that they're going to finally be this year.
Russ, do we react too much as sports fans now to one game during the regular season in all sports? It just feels like every game is analyzed.
Yeah, I think like between social media and talk radio and everything's overanalyzed. I agree. I mean, look, I agree with Tim and Joe in the sense that we should be concerned because they were never going to be a 40+% 3-point shooting team all year. Those guys, they were going to regress. And I think the roadmap is there for this team. They need to reassume their defensive identity that they had last year. There's no reason why they can't play defense as well as they played last year. And remember, you've got Brogdon and Hauser, right? And so they should be better offensively. And I think when they settle into like an equilibrium, they'll be a really good defensive team with a top 5 or 7 offense. But they're not the best offensive team in the NBA.
No.
I just didn't think that was going to be the case all year.
And also, Timmy, they miss Al Horford when he's not in there.
Well, Al shot like 1 for 9 threes the game, and they were wide open threes too. I mean, it was an eye opener for me, that game. And it's not a one game thing here either, Scotty. It's 2 weeks that they've been down.
It's since Golden State.
Yeah, they've lost 4 out of 5.
It's like the Golden State game kind of stuck a pin in them or something and deflated them a bit, That game seems to have put some kind of a pall over this team.
Now does this
dose of reality?
Yeah.
Is Joe Mazzulla the guy to?
Yeah, he's fine. To your point, Scotty, you could take any 5-game stretch or 6-game or even a 10-game stretch in the NBA. Normal NBA season, unless you're the friggin' Chicago Bulls that won 72 games or the Warriors, and there's gonna be a lull, and they'll go out and win a game that they shouldn't have won, and I think Missoula's is
one factor
fine.
that I will give them this. I think all that travel had an effect on them. They were going back and forth, and I mean,
that was a tough road trip. 14 days.
It was a tough road trip. Then, coming back with those hours flying is just as hard as going there.
But also, we have to listen to what we say. We said this season, as the season started, that they were going to rest guys like Tatum and Horford, and we might lose some games that we shouldn't have lost.
Then we get mad when they do.
We had no Tatum in the last game.
The Sunday game, okay, we would have won that game clearly if Tatum had played. So we have to understand that this is all for the bigger picture of things. The key is when that playoffs start, make sure everyone's healthy. But this last 2 weeks, has it changed your mind as far as a need?
Oh, Missoula, you mean?
No, a need for an acquisition before the deadline.
I will still say a big giant body. I don't know. I mean,
I just haven't seen that many games.
I'll tell you, that kid what did we just play? We lost 2 games to.
Like
Orlando.
That kid, they got that number 1 pick, boy. He was a specimen.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, that Banchero? Oh, yeah.
God, it's 6'10",
big,
250. He moves like a 5'10" guard. I mean, he was we didn't have anyone that could physically match up with him.
At least the number 1 pick in the draft. So would never.
And he looked like it. Let me tell you, he was the best guy on the court. Clearly, he was the best player on the court.
If it was playoffs, though, you'd send Grant out there 5 fouls, 5 minutes. Then Blake Griffin, bang him around a little, get him tired, like they did to Giannis,
That kid's going to be a superstar in this league.
Oh, yeah.
He was clearly the best player on the court.
Well, we've had a lot of fringe guys that we cut who are ending up being a really good
Bol
guy.
Bol.
Max
Bol
Strus.
Bol looked
Strus.
magnificent.
Bol. Wait, there's a few others.
Well,
Russ,
Bol
remember-
didn't get cut. Didn't he get traded for Jay Rich? Or D.
No,
White? It was one of the
no,
trades.
I think they
Okay.
traded him for.
He went
I
to
think they-
Houston.
I think they traded him. No, they traded him for a couple of second rounders. They needed to get under the tax.
Yeah.
I'll tell you
Yeah.
what, though, that kid, you look at him, he looks like he's got to move like his dad, right? Like this big kind of gangly looking stick, you know? And then he gets the ball and he's moving with incredible fluidity. I was thoroughly shocked at how good he was.
But in the draft, everybody wanted him. Celtics.
I can see why. The kid's got some game.
Did he go second
Can't
round?
coach height.
I think he went second round.
I think it was a 44th pick, maybe something like that.
Yes,
Mhm.
that
I'll tell you, not a bad guy to have sitting on the end of the bench. I mean, I don't know how much he costs, but kid's got some
Speaking
game.
of sitting at the end of the bench, Peyton Pritchard, where are you?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, that to me, that's the answer to your question, Scott, about, do you rethink? Guess the only thing I would say is if you're wasting an asset, if you're not going to play him and you're only going to play him if someone gets injured, feels like you're wasting an asset. And, if you could get a wing in here who could take some minutes during the regular season away from the Jays, wouldn't that be more useful than Pritchard just sitting on the bench waiting for someone to get hurt?
yeah, because those kind of shooter types, like the Duncan Robinsons of the world, though, also they sometimes don't age very well. So yes,
Yeah.
he has value now, right? I think, and you're not going to utilize him for this season. Why is he here?
Yeah, he's the fourth string point guard behind Smart, White, and Brogdon. Then it's Pritchard.
Yeah.
So,
So, I think Russ is right, trade him for a guy like Gallo was supposed to be, give Tatum a lot of rest, a long wing.
would you
6'9",
say that it's
3-point
very
shooter.
frustrating when we talk about the Celtics and Bruins who have these tremendous starts? Doesn't the season start to seem really long when your team is really dominant?
Yeah.
Long way to go
You
to
want
the
the
playoffs.
to start. Yeah, you do. You
Right.
just want the playoffs to start.
And then you realize that's not happening for 4-5 months, and with both the Celtics and Bruins, things can only go bad. And then now I'm going to give you guys extra time. You guys have been so well behaved. And my gift to you,
David Krejci hour?
we are going to talk Bruins until we're blue in the face.
I like the Eddie Endelman of the old days. He just wouldn't talk about the Bruins because he
Well, we
hated
talk-
Harry Simmons so much.
We talk about first of all, we talk about the Bruins every show. It just, to me, there's not a lot to talk about, because
It's hard to talk about hockey. It is.
it is because a lot of times too, also, there's not a lot of great trade rumors like there are in the other sports.
It's just a
Well,
different-
there is right now.
it's
There lots of rumors about Patrick Kane being available, but
Yeah.
I hate the price of Taylor Hall. I
will
think,
say this.
no.
Hockey's a hard sport to talk about because it's just the way the game is played, and it's hard to analyze each individual's strengths and weaknesses. Sometimes it's so fat. It's just the way it's played. It's different. It's hard to analyze.
Because also the personnel, if it's not like you could bring some like hot shot prospect from Providence up and we all excited, because if there was a hot shot prospect in Providence, he'd already be on the Bruins.
Mm.
You know what I mean? It's just a weird dynamic.
Yeah, I agree. It's not easy to talk about, but let's talk about it.
Because everything is pretty set when it comes to Bruins. The lines are generally set. Your goalies are set. I mean, no, seriously, I asked the question on a weekly basis. How do you talk hockey?
Well, let's talk about this. This is one stat that I thought was very encouraging. I mean, we have one scorer in the top 20 in the league, and they're doing what they're doing. That's phenomenal. The sign of
Yeah.
that shows what I think. Russ, did you post that?
Yeah, they have one of their Pasternak is in the top 25 in points and goals, but no one else on the Bruins, and they are in a historic pace, is in the top 25 in points or goals. So
That
it's incredible.
that's a good stat.
Do you think they signed Pasta?
No, but what I'm saying is that's a great stat
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that shows
It
the
just
depth
shows
of
they
this
go deep.
team. Because
Right.
we were Bergeron, Pasta, and Marchand every
Yeah.
night, right? If
Yeah.
if it was a win, they had 3 out of the 4 or 4 out of the 5 goals.
Yeah,
It's coming from everywhere right now.
it is. And then Timmy, you have a situation where you've got Hall on a third line, night in and night out. I mean, what other NHL team, and not just out of like some quirky thing, but what any other NHL team has a Taylor Hall as a wing on their third line?
And this is the Taylor Hall. This isn't the Taylor Hall the last few years. This is a reinvigorated. Taylor Hall's was playing as good as he's ever played in his life.
Because he loves playing for the Bruins. I mean, I think if you have Taylor Hall on on another team, he's not playing this well.
And he's with the reinvigorated Charlie Coyle too, and Trent Frederick. That line is outscoring and outplaying the second line.
I mean, Hall busts his balls out there. The guy's legs never stop moving, whether it be back checking or working in the corner. This guy is working hard on it. You combine the talent that he has with the effort that he's putting forth now. That's a good player.
So we have the number one and number 2 pick in that draft, right? It was Hall and Sagan, right? And we've had both of them. So you mentioned it, Pasternak, does the not signing Xander and maybe not signing Devers kind of a wake-up call to the Bruins? That
I hope so.
I mean, do you think that affects them at all with the Red Sox?
Of course it does.
Is his contract expiring this year? Will he be an outright free agent?
Yes, he's a free agent at the end of this season, and he's not really. Supposedly, he's not negotiating, but they say he is. His agent is negotiating with the Bruins. It's no one in the National Hockey League got a lot of dough. That's a hard cap. No ifs, ands, or buts. You can't go over it. And he's going to command maybe the most money in the whole league.
Joe, now do they give any break to the current team that has it, like a bird rule or anything like that?
No.
But the Bruins have been pretty good about signing their players recently.
They have.
Yeah.
Always surprise us too. There's of course the Boston media is so horrific, but all of a sudden,
well, Chiarelli did it to a fault, actually.
Right, but like we were surprised by the Coyle deal. We were surprised. I mean, the
McAvoy.
You thought these guys were out the door. Look, they sewed up Hampus. That was
that one surprised me.
So I can't believe they would let Pasternak go.
I don't think they will. I think they're prepared to give him the most money. And the only other teams that would be able to compete for him, that would have the dough, are crappy teams. And I don't think, if it comes down to, $500,000, I think he'd rather play with a winner than play with the Phoenix Coyotes,
You think he's going to get 11, 12 million a year?
Yeah. He's going to get top dollar.
Do you think Pasternak stays, Russ?
Yeah. I think they'll sign him. I mean, when you have a chance at retaining he's a top 10 player in the NHL, right, guys? Right? When you have a chance to retain a top 10 player in the NHL, you probably can finagle the cap. He's your bridge to whatever the next Bruins team is. Don't you need a superstar like that?
Those guys do not grow on trees.
They don't.
Timmy, does he sign?
What's that?
Does he resign?
Yeah, because I tell you see it in hockey. Most of these guys form a real bond with their teammates in hockey. I think I see it more there than in any other sport. If they like the surroundings, they'll try to get it done.
Joe,
I'm talking about the player.
Yeah.
Joe, does he resign?
Oh, I think so. But there's a caveat there. They have 7 other forwards that this is their walk year too.
So who else do we have, Joe?
Krejci, Saka, Bergeron. There's a lot.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's actually a positive, Joe, because then they know how moving forward how they can free up money with the cap.
Yeah, but you have to replace these guys too.
I know, but obviously.
And Bergeron and Krejci are on it. And even Zaka, I think, is on a pretty team-friendly deal.
Bergeron and Krejci are playing for free this year.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah. Well, there may have been a deal where Bergeron took less with the idea that they were going to sign Pasternak. I mean, he's that obviously he wants a good team, and I think Bergeron plays next year also.
I mean, the way he's playing, he's playing as good as he's ever played.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
His back checking especially has been above the last, say, 3 years.
I'll tell you one
Best
thing
of the
I've
last
noticed,
3
the
years.
back checking on this team, watching the games, it seems like the Bruins have control. The other team gets the puck, and like within seconds, the Bruins take the puck away and regain possession for a while, and then they lose it. They then take the puck away very quickly again. It seems like these games, the Bruins have the puck like most of the time.
What makes Montgomery a good coach?
I think
Offense, aggressive offense, right?
Yeah.
More aggressive offensive system. Like he's letting these guys press the play, isn't he?
He lets the defense press the issue. They're in there as like wings.
You saw Carlo's goal. I don't know if you saw it the other night. He was up with the play.
Yeah. I thought he was the center.
When was the last time you saw Carlo up in a play like that? I mean, he's usually,
never saw that under
Dallas Smith of the world, just, staying in his little zone there.
So for all we criticize Sweeney, and of course that deal with that crazy kid didn't help, but Sweeney's had a good 2022.
So far.
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
Cassidy's doing all right for himself out there in Vegas.
No, but I mean, the guys Sweeney acquired, re-upping
Zaka especially.
the re-upping of players.
But, I think Russ had a good point. This guy's letting Bergeron be Bergeron, and Bergeron lead like Bergeron. I think Bergeron was being stifled by Cassidy, and not that Bergeron come out and openly say it, but Cassidy wanted things done his way. I think this guy's letting his leaders lead this year.
No, this is very exciting, and I think that we're all assuming that the Bruins are going to win the cup right now, and it's very scary because this is a team that should win it.
Well, Linus is playing goal like a Stanley Cup winning goalie plays. So if he can keep it up, it's a long way between now and then. So
we need a cup here. We need it, right? That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, boys, that's our show for tonight. I want to thank Lex, who took over today for Adam. This
Thank
is
you,
our,
Lex.
I want to, of course, thank the fellas. And of course, I want to thank Big for 9 years of doing this show on Big. This is our last show on Big. We're moving on to the YouTube channel because, we got to move on at some point. But we thank everybody at Big over the years who helped us out. And we will be on the YouTube channel starting next week, Wednesday night at 6:30. So tune in for another adventure of the Grandstanders Live. Merry Christmas and happy holidays. My name is Scott Kerman. Have a good night.